your journey going from 0 girls to getting your perfect 10 out of 10 girl. So from having no experience in dating at all, you might even be a virgin. I've had clients who were virgins, and by the grace of God, we got them laid. By the way, if you want to work with me, link in the description below. And from that to going all the way to getting the relationship that you're absolutely satisfied with, and it's the girl that you want to spend the rest of your life with. So how does that happen? How does that happen to one? Is it coincidence? Today in this video, I'm going to give you the entire bird's eye view of the whole journey so that you know what to expect. Because if you know what to expect, if you watch this video and kind of understand what the macro view looks like of the evolution, of the development, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to avoid the stress and the pitfalls and the wrong expectations that eventually get you to quit the journey. Because a lot of guys that start off, all of a sudden find this way too hard. And I had a prospective client that we did one training with once. That was a couple months ago here in Berlin. And he just felt like he wasn't cut out for it. Like it was the moment to start taking action. He just like started crying. And I don't want to scare you off. It's just he had the wrong expectations. So maybe he would have been better off watching a video like this, right? I feel that if you have the right expectations, you know what to expect, you know how hard it's going to be or how easy it's going to be, and you can prepare yourself mentally accordingly. And if you do that, it's going to be a lot more likely that you're going to be successful. So that's why you should watch this video, because that's the whole point. Like, you want to be successful. You want to eventually get the dream girl, to be with her and to grow together and to create experiences with each other, right? So this is also kind of like my journey, and this is what I went through, and I'm glad I did. Like, it's been an amazing journey so far, and the journey is not even over. So let's crack into it. And the first thing I want to say is that the completely like thousands of miles away macro view looks like this. You have 0 girls, then you get all the girls, and then you narrow it down to the 1 girl. That's kind of what it looks like. It's not, please don't fall for the fallacy of, yeah, I'm gonna take some action and I'm gonna find the one like a month from now and I'm gonna marry her. It doesn't work like that, okay? It doesn't work like that because generally, a couple of things. Number one, it's a matter getting that type of girl who is like also, I'm guessing, like a high level girl, like a girl that also comes with high competition, is a matter of not only what you do, but who you become through that journey. It's a matter of like the man that you are. And also the flip side of that is from the perspective of the women, it's also a matter of they do want the guy who is competent. It's the girls want the guy who will be very smooth when he talks to them. Not too smooth, like not too like suspiciously polished, but like when he talks to them, he's competent. Like, it's obvious that he knows what he's doing. But you cannot be the man that knows what he's doing and is competent just by sheer chance. You only become that man because you've spoken to hundreds and thousands of girls. So, and of course, women are not going to admit that. They're gonna say that I want the man with like 2 bodies. But the man with 2 bodies, he's not going to be smooth when he approaches you at a bar. It's just like a given. He's not. It's when you have the date with that man as a woman, it's not going to be the easiest walk in the park breeze and he's going to take care of everything. It doesn't work like that. But okay. The point is, yeah, that's the journey. You need to become competent with girls overall so that from there you can be the chooser. So you start at the point where you're not the chooser at all. And the first step is admitting something to yourself. We as men tend to have this fantasy that, especially when we're like 16, 18 or whatever, we tend to have this fantasy that we can beat up whoever we want and we can get whatever girl we want. And it doesn't quite work like that. You don't become John Jones by thinking about it. It takes training a skill and getting a bunch of experience to be able to beat up a lot of people if you had to. And likewise, with women, equally with women, it takes the same. It takes understanding psychology, understanding not only the girl's psychology and social psychology and dynamics, but also like getting your own psychology under control and getting to know yourself, because that's not a given. It's not like you woke up one day at 18 and you knew who you are. It doesn't work like that. So you can only gain that competence if you gain a lot of experience and put it under your belt and take some action, put in some effort. So the first thing that you need to do is admit to yourself that you're not where you're supposed to be. And I remember that's kind of what happened to me when I was about 21 or so, 22. That's when I started my journey. And I remember I had this girl who I was madly in love with, which from today's perspective is I barely knew this girl. I was just like super needy and had no self-esteem and no boundaries. But from that, from young Alex's perspective, obviously it was, I'm madly in love with this woman, and she discarded me, she rejected me, and even though we're together for a little bit, and then I was really depressed, and then I realized and I admitted to myself, because up until then I was like, oh, I'm so good with women, I have all the women I want. At that moment I admitted to myself, hey, you know what, I actually don't. And it's a hard step. It's a very hard thing to admit things. It's kind of like, I remember when you were a kid and you had to admit that you stole the cookie from the jar to an adult. This is one of the hardest things that we can do, or that we do as humans, confessing or admitting. And ironically, this is the thing that will propel you forward, that will help you in your self-development and your personal growth. So the more of that you do, the better, in my advice and in my personal assessment. But admitting is the first step, and kind of like straight from like an AA meeting, right? And admitting also comes with a self-assessment, kind of like starting to understand, okay, what are my deficiencies, my drawbacks, where am I at? And that's the first time that you understand, okay, I have no girls. I don't have competence with girls. I am not a confident guy. Girls generally don't like me. It's a tough pill to swallow. Okay, yeah, sure. But admitting it is gonna rocket, or jumpstart your journey, which is fucking great. So that's step number one. So what happens there? What happens there is realizing that dating journey is simultaneously a self-development and personal growth journey as well. You cannot have a dating journey without leveling up as a man. So that means that as much as I want you to be learning all the techniques and strategies that, that I teach or that other teachers teach or whatever, it is equally important to level up in your life, to make more money, to build a body. And these are things that I include in my fucking practice. This is how important they are. And the first step to that is start cutting out your vices. Recognize the things that are holding you back, that are eating up your time, that are diminishing your self-esteem, and stop them. And I remember when I was 22 and started learning dating and approaching women, I was drinking, and I wasn't dependent on alcohol or drinking excessively or every day or anything like that. But I'd had a scotch when I went out, or like a cocktail or something. And I decided to stop that, to go cold turkey, completely sober, straight edge, and jump into evolution and development. And I think that, okay, there was not a massive thing that I had to go through, but I think that the first step to that is cutting out your vices. And I think that it really helped me. So every time since that I've had to make a jump in my development, it's helped me to cut out my vices, which is something that I'm doing right now as well. I've told you in other videos about what's going on in my life, and I'm gonna hit you with an update soon as well, because it's been a minute since I did the last one. And every time you cut your vices, fucking God sees that and he rewards you. So that's the first step. Now, we started with no ego, and that's a big mistake that a lot of men make. They have some kind of expectation and they feel like they are owed something, and if women don't respond to them appropriately, they get pissed off, and that's not going to get you anywhere. But if you can start with no ego, then you start learning. So you start with bad results, and slowly everything starts happening. And I remember me kind of struggling. I had this sticking point back in the day that girls would take my number, or I would take theirs, but they wouldn't call me back. They wouldn't respond to my text, to my messages. And I remember thinking, and this is one of the craziest things, it's kind of like a joke. I wasn't thinking that seriously, but back then there was like this woman that disliked me, who was a friend of my mom's, who was the mom of my schoolmate. And I had this secret fantasy that she probably goes to all the girls that I talk to after I've talked to them, even though I was in a different country. Well, I had this mental joke with myself, because I couldn't explain what was happening, right? And tells them to not hang out with me because I'm a bad kid. Of course, after the fact, I realized what was going on, and I just realized that I was missing the step of qualification to make the girl kind of understand why I like her, and not just because she looks good. And once I inserted that step, lo and behold, women started answering my messages. Simple. But this is again because I had no ego. I was willing to learn. I was there to learn and for nothing else. So you're going to start learning attraction. And I recommend for this step to start daytime approaches in your daily life. In a cafe, at a park, out on the street, busy street with, shops or cafes or trendy area or shopping mall. This is because there is no barrier to entry there. You don't need to go past a bouncer or a silk rope. You don't need to know somebody. All the cute girls, they do go out to get coffee, so you might run into really cute girls, and you might, even run into the one, Of course, you still have to go through a lot to get the one, but, things can happen. In fact, one of the weirdest things is that some clients tell me that they've approached the same girl on the street that they had approached months earlier. And because now they've evolved, they've developed their skills, the girl kind of likes them and she doesn't even remember them the first time, because essentially it's a different dude that approaches, right? But if you're approaching on the street, it's also kind of brutal. You're going to get over your fear of approaching women, your social fears, your social anxiety. And the more you do that, the better. And you're going to start creating connections, getting your first successes, and learning attraction, learning how to stop a woman in her tracks, be assertive, commanding, but be pleasant and loving at the same time, and move the interaction forward, create attraction, get a girl's digits, and start going on dates. Okay, you're still, from the perspective of the learner, the kind of like the asker, the one that asks. The asker is not even a word, but this is still your perspective. This is still kind of like what's going on. Now, once you start hacking into that, you're gonna start getting your first dates, which is amazing. It's cool. You're gonna start connecting with girls. Maybe you're gonna start having your first experiences. You're gonna start failing your first dates and never getting a second date, and like hacking through that and fighting through that. And that's a good time to start progressing to nighttime game as well. Like start meeting women at bars and clubs, because bars is a setting where people want to be social. So now you kind of like you're starting to gather some knowledge, you're starting to gather some skills. Parallel to that, your character is being developed because you exposed yourself to what you feared. You're no longer the man you were when you started. You're a little more resilient, a little tougher. Your skin is a little thicker. And now, if you progress to bars, a lot of doors is gonna open because you've done the hard thing. Okay, so now putting yourself in an environment where women want to be social is gonna be a little easier. So there, you're gonna start working with things like pre-selection and hitting more attraction triggers, working crowds, working groups, understanding how groups work. And pre-selection is, for example, the notion that women, when they see you with other women, it's a lot easier for them to be attracted to you. So you can work that angle in a bar a lot easier than it would be on a street, even if you're going out alone in both settings. Okay, so from there, you're starting to gather your first wins, and you're starting to also not only get to second dates and third dates and start dating girls, but also getting better at sex, at running a relationship, at understanding women, understanding yourself through osmosis. It's one thing to approach women on the street, it's another thing to actually have a running relationship with a woman. That teaches you a lot more about yourself than you thought was possible. So, and about your ego, about ego management, which is one of my favorite topics in my practice as well, especially in coaching. And yeah, you might start having casual relationships and stuff like that. And that is the moment where you flip from like, I'm asking, to people are starting to come to me. Because once that snowball effect starts, and this is one of the coolest spots in your journey, coolest points in your journey, once that snowball effect starts, everything starts becoming a lot easier. So you see that the theme is we start with the hard shit, and slowly but surely we move on to like easier and easier things. Okay, so now you can start going to legit clubs, going with maybe a couple of girls, going to events, throwing your own events, and starting to meet the people that matter. And that's not just girls and female friends that you can have, which all of the experience that you gathered now justifies having a couple of cool female friends that you can exchange value with. Maybe you can connect them to somebody cool. The way that you talk to them, they feel that you have value, you have status. Maybe they, in turn, can make it easier for you to meet other women. Okay, so you start creating your social circle, you start creating connections, and maybe even your own events. And it doesn't have to be a huge event at a club. It could simply be a regular bi-weekly dinner with like 2 more cool guys, and every guy brings 2 girls, so it's like a beautiful ratio. And you make a couple of pictures of that and put it on social media. Social media starts being a little more social. Like, do you actually showcase relationships with humans, which is one of the most important attraction triggers for women. And by the way, I'm going to make a video on all of the attraction triggers. I'm going to link it up here. Okay. So go watch it after you watch this video. And now from that position, it is so easy for you to have multiple women in your life, multiple sexual partners. And that is the last bit of work you actually need to do. So that alone takes it has its own learning curve, and takes a lot of, like, it's a new skill, you need to learn it, but I highly recommend that you do it, not because it's cool to date multiple women at a time. It's just the next logical step in that sequence. And once you have that, from there it's the easiest to find the one that you really are attracted to. Because if you're in this position, you will see that higher value and hotter girls are going to want to be with you, want to be around you. It's kind of like an economy of value that's a lot faster than the economy that you had when you were approaching women on the street. Like the value that gets exchanged there, it's like it's so much more, and because of that, the turnover is big. It attracts a lot of people, and you're essentially in the middle of a big social situation that you have yourself orchestrated. It's a big network, and you're sitting smack in the middle of it, and that has a lot of value. And I wouldn't see that from the perspective of, oh, this is vapid and not very deep. There is a lot of real love and real relationships and real connections that are established there, and these are relationships, maybe professional relationships, maybe friendships with both women and men that you can keep for the rest of your life. So once you're at that point, then what tends to happen if you haven't committed to a girl until then, because some people, some clients of mine as well, they choose to commit to a girl at some point before this point in the journey. They just go like, okay, this is the one, this is who I want, done. And granted, in some cases, some of these clients return back to kind of pick up where they left off to get to the point that I am describing right now, which is the king of the social situation gets to choose. Once you're there, hotter and hotter girls want to be with you, want to be around you, and because of that, it gets easy for you to finally, number one, choose the girl out of abundance and out of experience that you want to be with, and number two, actually do it. So you've had enough experience to know who you are, what you want, what the girl is, who she should be that you want to be with. You have enough abundance to justify her wanting you as well. And you have enough experience to also know how to create that relationship, how to manifest it, how to move it forward, because you've done it so much up until then. So the easiest thing at that moment is to just get the girl that you want, invite her out for a steak dinner, and tell her, or wait for her to tell you, to ask you if you guys are together or what you guys are, and then you can define it, and that's a girl. That's pretty much it. And I don't see any other plan, any other progression or route that would take you there to that quality of a result in that efficient a way. I think this is the route that you should follow if you want the best possible result in the shortest amount of time and in the most efficient way. So I hope that made sense. This is how you get your 10 out of 10. Follow for more, or subscribe, I guess, for more videos, and like this video. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.